The great chamber of the Galactic Council stretched far beyond what human eyes could easily see. Massive pillars of crystal rose from the floor like frozen lightning, their surfaces glowing with soft blue light that cast dancing shadows across the assembled delegates. Commander Jake Morrison stood at the small platform reserved for petitioners, his simple blue Earth uniform looking plain against the magnificent alien architecture that surrounded him. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Carter adjusted her tablet and tried to ignore the whispers and strange sounds coming from the hundreds of alien beings that filled the chamber. Lord Vextalen stepped forward to the speaking platform, his forearms moving in graceful gestures as he addressed the crowd. His skin had the texture of polished metal, and his large black eyes reflected the chamber's lights like mirrors. When he spoke, his voice carried easily through the vast space without any need for amplification. "Fellow beings of our great galaxy," he began, and Jake could hear the amusement in his tone even though the words came through his universal translator. "We have received another request from the species that calls itself human. They wish to join our council and become part of our advanced civilization." A wave of sound swept through the chamber as the various alien species reacted. Some made clicking noises, others hummed in frequencies that made Jake's teeth ache, and a few simply pulsed with different colored lights. It took him a moment to realize they were all laughing. The crystalline ambassador rose from her seat, her transparent body catching and scattering the chamber's light into rainbow patterns. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "These humans have barely learned to travel between stars. Their ships are made of simple metal and powered by crude engines. They still use weapons that throw pieces of metal at their enemies." More laughter filled the chamber, and Jake felt his jaw tighten. He had traveled for 18 months through hyperspace gates just to reach this place, and now he was listening to beings mock everything his species had achieved. A representative from the Ethereal Collective joined the conversation. This being had no solid form at all, appearing as a shimmering field of energy contained within a transparent sphere. Its voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Their technology is thousands of years behind ours. They have no telepathic abilities, no quantum consciousness transfer, no matter manipulation systems. Perhaps in another millennium they might develop something worth our attention." The reptilian High Chancellor stood next, his scales shifting from green to gold as he spoke. "We have observed their homeworld. They still fight wars among themselves. They pollute their own planet and argue about simple scientific facts. What could such a primitive species possibly offer to our advanced society?" Jake stepped forward, his hands clasped behind his back in a military stance. "Honored council members, humanity may be young compared to your great civilizations, but we possess qualities that your advanced technology cannot replicate." Lord Vextalen's head tilted to one side, an expression that might have been curiosity on his alien features. "And what qualities might those be, little human?" "The ability to adapt and survive against impossible odds," Jake replied, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "The willingness to find new solutions when old ones fail. The determination to keep fighting even when victory seems impossible." This brought another wave of alien laughter, even louder than before. The crystalline ambassador's form sparkled brighter as she responded. "Primitive determination cannot overcome the laws of physics. Your crude weapons cannot penetrate our energy shields. Your slow ships cannot outrun our quantum drives. Your brief lifespans cannot match our accumulated wisdom of millennia." Dr. Carter spoke for the first time since entering the chamber. "We are not asking you to fear us or our current technology. We are asking for the chance to prove that innovation and ingenuity have value beyond raw power." The ethereal being pulsed with what might have been amusement. "Innovation? From a species that still burns fossil fuels and fights with kinetic weapons? Your entire civilization could be destroyed by a single one of our escort vessels." Jake felt the weight of their mockery, but he also felt something else, a calm certainty that these beings had no idea what they were dealing with. "Honored Council, we request 6 months to demonstrate our worth." Give us that time, and we will show you capabilities that your advanced sensors cannot detect and your powerful weapons cannot stop. The chamber fell silent for a moment as the council members exchanged glances. Some communicated through flashing lights, others through telepathic waves that made the air shimmer around them. Finally, Lord Vaxellen spoke again. Very well, humans. You amuse us with your confidence. We grant you 6 months to prove that your primitive species deserves a place among the stars. But when you fail, and you will fail, Earth will accept that it is not ready for galactic civilization. The reptilian chancellor's scales shifted to a warning red. And if you attempt any aggressive actions during this time, your entire world will face the consequences. We have war fleets that could turn your planet to ash before your crude missiles could leave their launch tubes. Jake bowed formally to the council. We understand and accept your terms. In 6 months, humanity will present evidence of our worthiness that even this great council cannot ignore. As the human delegation left the chamber, alien laughter followed them down the crystal corridors. Jake could hear their words being translated. Primitive fools and delusional children, and they will learn their place soon enough. Dr. Carter walked beside him in silence until they reached their small transport ship. Only then did she speak, her voice barely above a whisper. They have no idea what we've been working on back home. Jake smiled grimly as he activated the ship's communication system. The message he sent was brief and coded, but its meaning was clear to those who received it on Earth. The 6-month countdown had begun, and it was time to activate the Phantom Project. Deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, Admiral Frank Williams received Jake's message and immediately called an emergency meeting. The beings of the Galactic Council thought they knew everything about human capabilities, but they were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you underestimate. The greatest secret in human history was about to be revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The elevator descended for what felt like forever, dropping deeper into the mountain than most people knew was possible. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood beside Colonel Ryan Phillips as they watched the numbers climb higher on the depth display. 500 meters, 1,000, 1,500. Finally, the elevator stopped at a level that officially did not exist. The doors opened to reveal a corridor carved from solid rock, lit by panels that cast a clean white light. Security checkpoints required multiple scans of their eyes, hands, and DNA before allowing them to pass. At the final checkpoint, a guard in unmarked fatigues nodded respectfully. Welcome to Level 7, Dr. Rodriguez. The Admiral is waiting for you in Construction Bay Alpha. They walked through corridors that hummed with hidden activity. Behind reinforced walls, Elena knew that thousands of the world's brightest scientists and engineers were working on projects that would change everything. But none of those projects were as important as the one waiting in Construction Bay Alpha. The bay doors opened with a soft hiss, and Elena heard Ryan's sharp intake of breath. Even though he had been briefed on the project, seeing it in person was something different entirely. The USS Phantom hung in the construction cradle like a sleeping giant, its hull reflecting the bay lights in ways that seemed to defy physics. 10 years of work, Elena said quietly. 10 years of taking apart every piece of alien technology we could find and figuring out how it really worked. Admiral Frank Williams approached them, his weathered face showing the strain of keeping humanity's greatest secret. The Galactic Council thinks we're primitives playing with metal and fire. They have no idea what we've accomplished here. Captain. Amy Brooks joined them at the observation platform, her eyes never leaving the ship below. The hull plating alone represents a breakthrough that the aliens never achieved. They focused so much on brute force that they forgot about subtlety. Elena activated a holographic display that showed the ship's specifications. Traditional stealth technology tries to absorb or deflect sensor waves. The Phantom does something completely different. It phases slightly out of normal spacetime, making it invisible to any sensor system based on conventional physics. Ryan studied the display, trying to understand technology that seemed like magic. How is that possible? Dr. Nathan Cross, the project's lead physicist, joined the conversation. We studied how alien ships achieve faster-than-light travel. They use exotic matter to punch holes through space-time. We realized that, if you could control that process precisely, you could make a ship exist in the gaps between normal space. The Phantom's development had begun 12 years ago, when a damaged alien scout ship crashed in the Pacific Ocean. The crew was dead, but their technology was intact. Instead of trying to copy the alien systems directly, human scientists had taken them apart piece by piece to understand the underlying principles. The aliens build everything to be as powerful as possible, Nathan explained. Their ships are essentially flying weapons platforms designed to overwhelm any opposition through superior firepower. They never considered that sometimes the best weapon is the one your enemy cannot see. Elena led them down to the construction floor, where technicians in clean suits made final adjustments to the ship's systems. The Phantom's hull seemed to shift and flow under the lights, its metamaterial surface adapting constantly to its environment. The weapon systems are equally revolutionary, Amy said, pointing to ports along the ship's sides that were barely visible. We use gravitational lensing to accelerate simple metal projectiles to near-light speed. No energy signatures for their sensors to detect, just kinetic force that can punch through any shield they've ever built. Admiral Williams checked his watch. We have 5 months and 18 days until the Council's deadline. How long until the Phantom is ready for launch? 72 hours, Elena replied. The crew has been training in simulators for 6 months. They know every system, every emergency procedure, every possible scenario we could imagine. Ryan walked around the ship, noting details that spoke to human ingenuity. The design was clean and functional, but it incorporated ideas that no alien engineer had ever considered. Instead of massive energy projectors and heavy armor plating, the Phantom relied on speed, stealth, and precision. What about the mission itself? He asked. We can build an invisible ship, but that doesn't mean the Council will accept us as equals. Amy smiled for the first time since entering the bay. The mission isn't just about demonstrating our technology. It's about showing them that their entire understanding of galactic power is wrong. Elena pulled up another display, this one showing the layout of the Zephyrian home system. Lord Vexthalen's people control the most heavily defended star system in the galaxy. Hundreds of battleships, thousands of sensor platforms, orbital defense stations that could destroy Earth's entire fleet. If we can reach their capital world undetected, we prove that all their military superiority means nothing. Nathan added more details to the display. The Zephyrians have spent millennia perfecting their defenses. Every approach to their homeworld is monitored by overlapping sensor networks. No ship has ever penetrated their space without being detected and either escorted or destroyed. Until now, Ryan said quietly. Admiral Williams nodded. The Phantom will launch in 3 days. Its mission is simple: travel to Veltar Prime, the Zephyrian capital, and prove that humanity can reach any target in the galaxy without being detected. When the Council's deadline arrives, we'll have a surprise for them. Elena looked up at the ship that represented humanity's greatest achievement. The aliens think they know everything about space warfare because they've been doing it the same way for thousands of years. They've forgotten that sometimes the newest player in the game sees opportunities that the veterans miss. The assembly was interrupted by an announcement over the facility's communication system. Intelligence reports were coming in from across the galaxy. The Council races were beginning to mobilize their fleets, conducting what they called training exercises near Earth's borders. Amy's expression hardened. They're already planning to make an example of us when we fail to meet their deadline. Admiral Williams studied the tactical reports. All the more reason to ensure that the Phantom succeeds. If this mission fails, Earth won't just be denied Council membership. We'll face annihilation from species who view us as nothing more than an amusing distraction. Elena felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. The Phantom represented more than just advanced technology. It embodied humanity's refusal to accept limitations imposed by others. For too long, Earth had been forced to play by rules set by alien civilizations. Now they would show the galaxy that humans made their own rules. 60 of our best people will crew the Phantom, Ryan said, reviewing the personnel files. Volunteers all sworn to secrecy, ready to risk everything for the chance to prove humanity's worth. As the final preparations continued around them, the team understood that they were about to attempt something that would either elevate humanity to its rightful place among the stars or bring down the wrath of the entire galaxy upon Earth. There was no middle ground. No safe option, no way to retreat once the mission began. The Phantom would launch in 3 days, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire species. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming. The USS Phantom moved through hyperspace like a ghost that had never existed. Captain Ryan Phillips stood on the bridge, watching displays that showed absolutely nothing to any sensor system in the galaxy. His ship existed in the spaces between. Normal reality phased just enough out of regular spacetime to remain completely invisible. "Navigation report," he said quietly, though there was no real need to whisper. The Phantom stealth systems would hide them from any listening device ever invented. Lieutenant Grace Kelly checked her instruments, her fingers moving carefully over controls that represented 10 years of human innovation. "We're approaching the outer sensor perimeter of the Zephyrian home system, Captain. All stealth systems are operating perfectly. To their sensors, we simply do not exist." The bridge crew of 12 represented the finest examples of human training and dedication. Each person had volunteered for a mission that could easily be suicide. If the Phantom's revolutionary technology failed, they would find themselves surrounded by the most powerful military force in the galaxy with no hope of escape or rescue. Commander Amy Brooks studied the tactical displays that showed the massive Zephyrian defense fleet. Hundreds of crystalline battleships patrolled the system's outer reaches, their energy signatures burning like small stars against the darkness of space. Each vessel carried enough firepower to reduce Earth to molten slag, yet they remained completely unaware of the human ship passing silently through their formation. "Their defensive pattern matches our intelligence reports exactly," observed Lieutenant Dan Foster from the tactical station. "Overlapping sensor grids, patrol routes that cover every possible approach vector, and enough firepower to stop any conventional fleet. They're so confident in their technological superiority that they've never considered the possibility of an undetectable threat." The journey through Zephyrian space required 18 days of careful navigation. The Phantom moved slowly, using only minimal engine power to avoid creating any disturbance that might be detected. The crew maintained absolute stealth protocol, communicating through written messages and moving through the ship with careful, silent steps. Dr. Maria Santos, the ship's science officer, spent her time studying the alien vessels they encountered. "Look at these ship designs," she whispered to her colleagues during a quiet moment. "Every hull configuration follows the same basic principles. Maximum energy projection, heavy armor plating, overwhelming defensive systems. They've standardized their technology so completely that innovation has become impossible." As they penetrated deeper into the system, the true scope of Zephyrian civilization became apparent. Mining platforms extracted resources from asteroids using controlled gravitational fields. Manufacturing stations assembled new ships using matter manipulators that could reshape metal at the molecular level. Transport vessels moved between worlds, carrying goods and passengers in quantities that dwarfed anything Earth had ever achieved. "Population scans of the inner system," Ryan requested. Grace consulted her readings. "Veltar Prime shows approximately 40 billion Zephyrians on the planet's surface, with another 10 billion in orbital habitats. Secondary worlds account for maybe 60 billion more. This isn't just their capital system, it's the administrative center for an empire that spans hundreds of star systems." The Phantom approached Veltar Prime through a corridor between two massive orbital defense platforms. Each platform bristled with energy cannons capable of vaporizing entire fleets, while sensor arrays continuously swept space for any sign of Intrusion. The human ship passed between them like morning mist, completely undetected by technology that the aliens considered perfect, Lieutenant. Lisa Park monitored Zephyrian communications from her station. Captain, you need to hear this. They're running entertainment programs about humanity on their public networks. Ryan listened to the translated broadcasts with growing anger. Comedy shows depicted humans as primitive savages who thought they could challenge galactic civilization. News programs discussed Earth as a curiosity that would soon learn its proper place. Political commentators debated whether humanity should be allowed to continue existing after their inevitable failure to meet the Council's requirements. They're treating us like a joke, Amy said through gritted teeth. 40 billion beings are laughing at the idea that humanity could ever threaten their perfect society. The Phantom took its final position in high orbit above Velprime's capital city. The planet's surface had been transformed into a single massive metropolis, with gleaming spires reaching up through the atmosphere and connecting to orbital platforms. Transportation networks moved millions of beings between different levels of the city, while government complexes covered areas larger than entire Earth nations. Final systems check, Ryan ordered. Each station reported in sequence, stealth systems operating at maximum efficiency, weapons powered and ready, communication arrays prepared for galaxy-wide broadcast, navigation systems locked onto their exit route. The Phantom hung invisible in space above the most defended world in known civilization, completely undetected by sensors that could track a grain of sand from 3 star systems away. Grace checked the chronometer. 67 hours until the Galactic Council's deadline expires, Captain. Ryan studied the displays showing Zephyrian military formations throughout the system. Thousands of ships, millions of personnel, weapons systems that could crack planets in half, all of it useless against an enemy they could not see or comprehend. They built their entire civilization on the belief that superior technology equals absolute power, Maria observed. They've never faced an opponent who could think outside their established parameters. Amy reviewed the mission timeline one final time. When we decloak, every major news network in the galaxy will receive our transmission simultaneously. The Council will learn that humanity can reach any target, anywhere, without warning. Dan checked his tactical readings. Zephyrian news services are already preparing their coverage of tomorrow's Council session. They expect to formally reject our membership application and then broadcast our humiliation across the galaxy. Ryan felt a cold satisfaction as he considered what was about to happen. The Galactic Council had spent months laughing at humanity's pretensions. Tomorrow, that laughter would turn to shocked silence when they realized that their most basic assumptions about galactic power were completely wrong. All stations, prepare for a final phase, he ordered. In 66 hours, we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate the ingenuity of desperate humans. The Phantom continued its silent orbit above Veltar Prime, invisible to the billions of beings below who had no idea that their perfect security had already been shattered. The countdown to revelation had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming. Lieutenant Park received another update from the Council chambers. Sir, Lord Vexdalen just gave an interview saying that humanity's 6 months are almost over, and that we've obviously learned our place in the galactic order. Ryan smiled grimly. He's about to learn that humans don't accept the place others try to give them. We make our own place. The bridge fell silent as the crew prepared for the moment that would change everything. Above them, the stars continued their ancient dance, unaware that tomorrow would mark the beginning of a new age in galactic civilization. At exactly 1400 hours Galactic Standard Time, as the Galactic Council prepared to formally reject humanity's membership application, Captain Ryan Phillips gave the order that would change the galaxy forever. All stations prepare for decloak sequence, he announced quietly. The bridge crew responded with practiced efficiency, their hands moving over controls that represented humanity's greatest technological achievement. Stealth systems to standby. Communication arrays to full power, on my mark. The Phantom had hung invisible above Veltar Prime for 3 days, completely undetected by the most advanced sensor networks in galactic civilization. Now it was time to reveal what human ingenuity could accomplish when necessity demanded the impossible. Mark, the USS Phantom, shimmered into existence directly above the Zephyrian capital like a metal ghost materializing from another dimension. For a moment that stretched into eternity, the sight was so impossible that the planet's defense systems failed to register it as a threat. A human vessel, sleek and deadly, hanging in space above the most defended world in the galaxy like a sword suspended over the throat of an empire. On the planet's surface, 40 billion Zephyrians looked up through their crystal spires to see something that should not exist. Emergency sirens began wailing across the capital city as military commanders tried to understand how their perfect defenses had been bypassed without triggering a single alarm dot in the Galactic Council chambers. Lord Vextalen was in the middle of a speech about humanity's obvious inferiority when the emergency broadcasts began streaming in from Veltar Prime. His forearms froze in mid-gesture as the impossible image appeared on the chamber's crystalline displays. A human battleship, its design completely unknown to any galactic database, floating serenely above their capital world. "This cannot be possible," he whispered, his metallic skin shifting to a pale silver that indicated profound shock. "Commander." Jake Morrison, still standing at the petitioner's dock after 6 months of waiting, allowed himself a small smile. "Honored council members, may I present the USS Phantom, humanity's formal demonstration of our worthiness for galactic citizenship." The chamber erupted into chaos as the implications crashed over the assembled aliens like a tidal wave. If humanity could place a warship above the Zephyrian capital undetected, they could reach any world, any fleet, any station in the galaxy. The technological superiority that had maintained galactic order for millennia had just been shattered by a species they had dismissed as primitive savages, the crystalline. Ambassador's transparent form flickered wildly with distress. "Our sensor networks monitor every quantum fluctuation within 50 light-years of Veltar Prime. Nothing can approach our capital without detection." "Nothing!" Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence. "The USS Phantom has been in orbit above your capital for 72 hours, completely invisible to your most advanced detection systems. During that time, it has observed your military installations, recorded your defensive patterns, and could have eliminated any target on the planet without warning." Admiral Corvin of the Reptilian High Command rose from his seat, his scales shifted to a warning red that indicated extreme agitation. "How many ships do you have? Where are they? What are your intentions?" The ethereal collective's representative pulsed erratically, its energy form barely contained within its containment field. "This changes the fundamental balance of power in the galaxy. If these humans can achieve true invisibility, then every assumption about galactic security becomes meaningless." Jake Morrison raised his hand for silence, and the chamber gradually quieted. "Honored Council, for 6 months you have mocked humanity's request for membership. You dismissed us as primitives who could never threaten your advanced civilization. Today we demonstrate that advancement is not measured solely by the raw power of one's weapons, but by the intelligence to make those weapons irrelevant." On Veltar Prime, panic spread through the government districts as the human ship continued to hang motionless in their sky. The planet's defense fleets scrambled to respond, but their targeting systems could not lock onto a vessel that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Energy weapons passed harmlessly through the Phantom's quantum-shifted hull, while its position directly above the capital made any serious attack impossible without devastating their own world. Captain Phillips opened a communication channel that broadcast simultaneously to the Galactic Council and every major news network in the galaxy. His voice, calm and measured, reached billions of beings across hundreds of worlds. "Citizens of the galaxy, I am Captain Ryan Phillips of the Earth vessel USS Phantom. For 6 months, your leaders have dismissed humanity as a primitive species, unworthy of galactic citizenship. They laughed at our crude metal ships and simple kinetic weapons. They never considered that sometimes the oldest solutions are the most effective. The broadcast continued as news networks across the galaxy scrambled to understand what they were witnessing. While your civilizations focused on building more powerful energy weapons and stronger defensive shields, humanity learned the art of becoming invisible. We studied your technology not to copy it, but to understand its limitations. Today we demonstrate that no defense is perfect when your enemy approaches from an angle you never considered. Lord Vexthalen found his voice again, though it cracked with disbelief. What do you want from us? What are your demands? Jake Morrison's expression remained calm and diplomatic. The same thing we have always wanted. Recognition as equals in this galaxy, a seat on this council. The right to exist and grow without your condescension and threats. The crystalline ambassador's voice sounded like breaking glass. You could have destroyed our capital without warning. Your vessel could strike any world in the galaxy before our defenses could respond. Why show mercy to those who mocked you? Dr. Carter answered with quiet dignity. Because that is not who we are. We did not develop this technology to become conquerors. We developed it to survive in a galaxy that taught us only the strong deserve respect. You demanded strength, so we became strong. But strength without wisdom leads only to destruction. From the bridge of the Phantom, Commander Amy Brooks monitored the defensive fleets that surrounded Veltar Prime. Hundreds of massive warships moved into attack formations, their crews desperate to respond to a threat they could not understand. Captain, the Zephyrian military is requesting permission to engage. They want to try using gravitational weapons to disrupt our position. Ryan's smile was cold and confident. Inform them that such an attack would destabilize the quantum fields maintaining our current phase state. The resulting explosion would destroy everything within 100,000 kilometers, including their capital city. The message was relayed to the Zephyrian command, and the attack fleets immediately backed away from their target. The human ship continued to hang above Veltar Prime like an untouchable monument to the failure of conventional military thinking. Admiral Corvin leaned forward in his council seat, his voice heavy with reluctant respect. What if we refuse your membership? What if we declare war on Earth? Jake Morrison's answer sent chills through every being in the chamber. Then you will face an enemy you cannot see coming. The Phantom is not our only vessel using this technology. We have had 6 months to prepare for your possible rejection. The implications settled over the galaxy like a shroud. Humanity had not just built one impossible ship, they had revolutionized their entire approach to space warfare. The established powers faced a choice that would define the future of galactic civilization. Accept these upstart humans as equals, or face an enemy that could strike from the shadows without warning. The old order was dead, killed by human ingenuity and the arrogance of those who believed their technology made them invincible. The galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council chamber had never experienced such profound silence. 3 hours had passed since the USS Phantom revealed itself above Veltar Prime, and the assembled representatives of dozens of advanced civilizations still struggled to comprehend what they had witnessed. The holographic displays continued to show the impossible sight, a human warship floating serenely above the most defended world in known space, completely immune to any response the galaxy's greatest military power could mount. Lord Vexthalen 4 arms trembled as he finally broke the silence that had engulfed the chamber. His metallic skin had shifted to a dull gray that indicated defeat and resignation. What do you want from us, humans? What are your terms for not destroying our civilization? Commander Jake Morrison stood straighter at the petitioner's dock, his simple Earth uniform now seeming less plain and more practical compared to the ornate alien garments around him. We want exactly what we have always wanted, Lord Vexthalen. Nothing more, nothing less. Recognition as equals in this galaxy. A seat on this council. The right to participate in galactic civilization without your condescension or threats. The crystalline ambassador's transparent form continued to flicker with distress patterns, her voice carrying the brittle edge of breaking glass. You could have obliterated Veltar Prime without any warning. Your vessel could appear above any world in the galaxy and strike before our defenses could even detect its presence. Why show restraint to those who have spent months mocking your species? Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward, her expression calm but her voice carrying the weight of humanity's philosophy. Because destruction was never our goal. We are not conquerors, seeking to rule through fear. We are explorers who simply want to take our place among the stars. The galaxy taught us that only strength commands respect, so we became strong. But we chose to use that strength wisely rather than destructively. From his command chair aboard the Phantom, Captain Ryan Phillips addressed both the Council and the billions of beings watching the broadcast across the galaxy. Your civilizations have spent thousands of years perfecting the art of overwhelming force. You built weapons that could shatter planets and shields that could turn aside the fury of stars. But you forgot the most important lesson of warfare. The greatest victory is the one that requires no battle at all. Admiral Corvin of the Reptilian High Command shifted his scales to a more respectful blue coloration as he leaned forward in his seat. And if we had refused your membership? If we had chosen to declare war on Earth rather than accept your equality? Commander Amy Brooks answered from the Phantom's tactical station, her voice carrying clearly through the communication channel. Then you would have discovered that the invisible ship above your capital is not alone. Humanity has spent 6 months preparing for the possibility of your rejection. We have learned to think beyond your established parameters of galactic warfare. The words sent ripples of unease through the chamber as delegates realized the full scope of what they faced. Humanity had not simply built one revolutionary vessel. They had fundamentally changed the rules of engagement for an entire galaxy. The technological superiority that had maintained order among the stars for millennia had been rendered obsolete by a species that refused to accept limitations imposed by others. The ethereal, collective spokesperson pulsed with patterns that indicated reluctant acceptance. The old methods of maintaining galactic stability are no longer viable. These humans have demonstrated that conventional military power becomes meaningless when your enemy can strike from outside your comprehension. Lord Vexdalen looked around the chamber at his fellow council members, seeing his own resignation reflected in their various expressions of defeat. The motion is called. All in favor of granting full membership status to the human species and Earth representation on the Galactic Council? One by one, the representatives raised their various appendages, shifted their energy patterns, or signaled their consent through species-specific methods of agreement. The vote was unanimous, not because they welcomed humanity as equals, but because they recognized that the alternative was facing an enemy they could neither see nor stop. Jake Morrison allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before the enormous responsibility of what they had achieved settled on his shoulders. Thank you, honored council members. Humanity accepts this membership with the understanding that we join as partners in galactic civilization, not as subjects seeking approval from our betters. As news of humanity's acceptance spread across the galaxy through faster-than-light communication networks, the USS Phantom began its journey home. But the ship did not simply decloak and depart in a conventional manner. Instead, it gradually faded back into quantum invisibility, becoming transparent and then disappearing entirely while thousands of Zephyrian vessels watched helplessly. The message was unmistakable. Humanity could appear anywhere, at any time, without warning or detection. The galaxy's most powerful military force had been unable to track, target, or threaten a single human vessel. Every assumption about space warfare, defensive strategy, and technological supremacy had been shattered in a single demonstration. 6 months later, Commander Morrison took his seat as Earth's first representative on the Galactic Council. The ornate chamber remained the same, but the dynamics had changed completely. Where once alien delegates had laughed at human pretensions, now they spoke with careful respect to the species that had revolutionized galactic warfare overnight. The Phantom Project remained classified, but rumors spread throughout the galaxy about invisible human ships patrolling the void between stars. Trade routes that had operated for centuries under the protection of established military powers now wondered if unseen guardians watched their movements. Aggressive species that had bullied weaker civilizations found themselves reconsidering their policies, uncertain whether their actions might provoke a response from enemies they could not detect. Dr. Carter established the new Earth Embassy on Nexus Prime, working with alien scientists who were eager to understand human approaches to technological development. The galaxy's greatest minds, who had once dismissed humanity as primitive, now sought to learn from the species that had achieved the impossible through innovation rather than raw power. Admiral Williams continued to oversee the expansion of Earth's invisible fleet from his underground command center. New ships incorporated lessons learned from the Phantom's successful mission, each one designed to slip through the gaps in conventional space-time and strike from angles that established military doctrine could not anticipate. The galaxy had entered a new age, one where technological superiority no longer guaranteed safety, and where the newest member of galactic civilization commanded respect through demonstrated capability rather than empty threats. The laughter had stopped, the mockery had ended. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through superior firepower or advanced energy manipulation, but through the one thing the galaxy had forgotten in its millennia of technological advancement: the power of thinking differently when survival demanded innovation. In the depths of space, invisible ships bearing Earth's flag continued their silent patrols, ensuring that humanity's hard-won position in galactic society remained secure. The other species of the galaxy had learned a valuable lesson about the danger of underestimating those they considered inferior. The age of human exploration and expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never again make the mistake of laughing at the ingenuity of a species that refused to accept defeat. Earth had claimed its place among the stars, and the universe itself would remember the day that humanity proved that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see coming, until it is already too late to stop them.